Hi, I'm Peter and welcome back to the History and Sabre Suite, the channel where I talk about HEMA, history and swords. Today is a very special day because I just got a delivery a few minutes ago, and what I got in the post is not one, but five, let's see if I can get them on here, 5 examples of basket-hilted broadswords from Armour Class in Scotland, so training swords for HEMA. And this video is basically my first look video of the Armour Class HEMA training swords, and yeah, let's unpack them and have a look. See you in a bit. So here it is, unwrapped, and it is beautiful. It has a very nice and historic design for the guard, as you can see, and a very nice and safe HEMA training blade with a shield similar to longsword, feathers. And basically, how did I come across this and why did I order it? What did I want? So basically, at the beginning of 2020, I wanted a steel basket-hilted broadsword, training sword. Now, upon researching, I very quickly found out that they are not the most economical training swords to buy. So there are lots of, not lots of, but there are some makers around, and they are usually quite expensive. So when I took my search over to YouTube, I quickly found a review by Stephen Hand of Stockata in Tasmania, and he was showing this exactly this kind of training sword in actual fact, and he was showing these swords by Armour Class in Scotland, which I had heard about for reenactment and reproduction swords, very nice looking reproductions, and I didn't know they were making HEMA training swords. And when I found out that Stephen Hand actually worked with Ian, who's the swordsmith at Armour Class, they designed this type of blade together, and he showed them in his review, and he recommended them very highly. I was basically sold. I contacted Armour Class right away I think that was in the first week of March 2020, first week of lockdown, COVID-19 in Austria. And yeah, I got them today, which is the 5th of November, and it's been almost exactly 8 months. Now, what did I want? We trained from Roworth, and that's of course Napoleonic period, and I wanted a training sword that kind of simulated a military basket-hilted broadsword of the period. There was the 1898 pattern Highland officer's broadsword, and I went online and searched for the stats, and some examples that I found were usually around something like 84 centimeters in blade length, which is around, I think, 33.5 inches or something. And this is basically the length I chose for my personal training sword because I'm on the shorter end of the scale at 169 centimeters in height. So I just went with what I found online for the period, and I think that fits me perfectly well. Now, the other 4 swords are different. 3 of those are 85 centimeters because the guys they belong to are of a more average height for modern standards, and 1 is fairly long at 86. I ordered 86 and it came out around 87 centimeters because this guy is fairly tall, even for modern standards. And I just wanted to have them scale to the user at least slightly, but still very historical for the Napoleonic period and also the, later 1820s, 30s, still fits that kind of regimental basket-hilted broadsword style of sword. Now, communication with Armour Class was outstanding. I think I've never waited more than maybe 1.5 hours for Ian to respond to my emails, questions regarding production time and details. he was always happy to answer my questions and got back to me very, very quickly. I think the fastest was under half an hour. So yeah, thanks Ian for the great communication, and really no complaints there. I was really pleasantly surprised. Now the production time initially when I contacted him first was 18 to 22 weeks, but that was before he knew that I wanted 3 initially and later 5 swords. So 8 months for 5 swords is still a good amount of time for production. And yes, it took longer than I usually thought it would, but again, I didn't tell him that I wanted 5 swords in total when he gave me that original estimate for production time. So I really think it's totally fine. And COVID and everything, so yeah. Now let's talk about the sword itself. It's a typical traditional basket hilt, as you can see, with the usual perforations, the forward guard here, as it's called. It has a leather wrapped grip and a very nice and smooth pommel. I believe it is threaded and not peened, as you can see, which is totally fine for maintenance and stuff. And yeah, it has 2 ferrules, one near the pommel and one near the cross, which also look very, very nice. And the blade, as you can see, has this kind of shield that you would find on long swords usually, which brings the balance in front of the hand and simulates a more realistic blade because the profile is quite slender, which you would find a broader blade on an actual sword, actual basket-hilted broadsword. But this, being a training blade, needs some kind of counterweight in front of the hand, so the weight or the balance point doesn't go way back and too far back. So yeah, that's great. Flexibility is also, I would say, medium. If you compare it to a Reginier Strong, it's more flexible than that. So it's not overly flexible, but it's totally safe. And I'd rather have a little more stiffness in the blade for training and for feel. But yeah, it is flexible enough, and I really enjoy the blade in itself and by itself. Now stats. I measured this sword and it's 1,195 grams, so 1.2 kilos, just under, which is totally historical. And when I unwrapped it and when I held it for the first time a few minutes ago, I was worried it was too light because you don't feel it at all. Look at the speed at which I can move the tip and the point. I can easily maneuver it almost like a spadroon, and you really don't feel the 1.2 kilos. On the other hand, my training saber is 740 grams, and on picking it up, it's much more blade heavy. Of course, it's a saber with a strongly curved cutting blade, but this does feel lighter, and it's almost twice the weight. So great handling, great balance, and historical weight still, which is totally great and exactly what I wanted. Now the blade length, I ordered it with 84 centimeters. It came out 84.5, which is totally fine. The balance point is 7 centimeters in front of the guard, which is also very accurate and as it should be. And really, it handles very, very nicely. I'm really happy how it turned out. I also really love the contrast between the historical design of the guard and grip construction and everything, and then this industrial looking training blade, and the contrast is just very attractive to my eyes at least. Now regarding the price, this is very affordable if you compare it to other manufacturers of HEMA ready training swords. This was 220 British pounds, and that's a really good price. It's the same price as his reenactment swords, so same hilt construction, same basket, just with a broader reenactment blade that looks a bit more realistic. And it's the same price as this, and 220 pounds for a well-made, beautifully made very attractive looking, safe training sword with historically accurate stats, weight, length, everything. This is really a bargain. Now, before I end this video, I haven't done any drills with it. I haven't really swung it around, just unwrapped it, really. I want to show you some close-ups and some nice B-roll of this sword. And yeah, let's have a look together. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the clips of the sword. It really is very nice and I can't wait to use it in training and sparring, because here in Austria we've just entered a partial second lockdown and I can't do any sparring or partner training really at the moment, which is why I'm all the more looking forward to using this in regular training again, whenever that will be possible. But as a sword for solo drilling, and just from its handling characteristics, it is very nice. Thanks Ian for the great work and for the great communication. I love this sword. So all in all, I really do recommend this. Armour Class in Scotland. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel so you're not missing out on my future content. And on that note, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching again, and bye bye.